right. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm excited to have this group here. This is wonderful. Um, I know certain people here on this call, but we have uh, Richard Pershing, dear friend of mine, and Tony and JR, and some new friends, Pastor Sheldon from Barbados, East Caribbean Conference, and Dan, sir, from Ireland right now. Uh, and so I am excited to be here. We just wanted to give an opportunity to shed some light on some wonderful work that you guys have been doing. And so I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to give it to CARES Learning Partnership and the work that we're trying to do here in Oakland, California, and across the NAD. And a lot of the associations that we have with you gentlemen have been very impactful in our organization. And so we greatly appreciate all of you being here. So Richard, I'm going to start with you. How did this group get together? The Center for Conflict Resolution, La Sierra University. Give us a little. How do we get to here?
Well, all glory to God, because He's the God of the world, and He is the one that brings people together as He sees the need. The Center for Conflict Resolution is privileged to have been founded by Tony Belak and with the help of J.R. Curtin, both renowned experts in the fields of mediation and restorative practices, as well as some other disciplines. And it was through their work that they do internationally that we had the opportunity to invite the East Caribbean Conference to participate in a conflict resolution training program that Tony and JR were doing in Barbados. And so I spoke with the conference president, invited him to bring his entire team to the training at our expense to see if they would like to learn more about this field. And to a person at the end of that training, they said yes, they would like to learn about this field. One of our trainers happened to be going to Ireland for some meetings. And so when that trainer was going to Ireland, I contacted Dan Serb, the conference president there, and asked if he would have an interest. And he said yes. And I invited him to attend the training that we were setting up in Barbados. So with that opportunity created with the door openings by Tony and JR, we were able to bring conference in Barbados and the conference in Ireland together to receive our restorative mediation training.
Wonderful, wonderful. So restorative mediation. I actually was privileged to go through basic mediation training, level one. That's out there at La Sierra at the center years ago when I was a dean. And so to see that grow and continue to move forward is excellent. And so, Pastor Sheldon, you got
Yes,
this.
sir.
You got this opportunity. So, restorative mediation. Talk to me a little bit about what that means to you personally, professionally. How has this training impacted your work since you've gone through it?
Well, this training really enriched my work tremendously because as a pastor, many times I have to have pastoral counseling sessions. And in these sessions, for the most part, there are some underlying issues with involved. And in other instances, there is the problem of trying to just being able to know how to solve disagreements. So the pastoral counseling really helps if there are general underlying personality issues where people would be helped to have a better flavor of their personality, so to speak. But even when people have that better flavor of their personality, from time to time, as in any relationship, there will be disagreements. And mediation training helped me to zero in on being resolution oriented, zero in on helping the couples deal with disagreements, even though their general personalities are a-okay. They will still have to have those techniques to deal with disagreements as they naturally will come up from time to time. And the structure of mediation really helped me tremendously to help couples and others in discord come to an amicable solution that would be really and truly beneficial to all involved. So that's how mediation training helped me, because it reinforced the fact that people can really and truly sit down in an environment and really listen to one another, and therefore gradually move from their initial positions to find common interests amongst themselves, whereby then they can discuss a possible resolution to implement to move forward in a more excellent way to harmonize their relationships.
Wow, that's exciting, and to have that coming from a church, right? An Adventist church being equipped with that information. Before we go too much further, Tony, I'll ask you, um, what are some of the things that go into this restorative mediation training?
Well, like Sheldon said, we help people listen to each other, but listen to understand and not listen to respond. So we don't trade punches. It's not a debate. It's a dialogue, and it's deeper. And we hope to restore the relationship that the parties have between or among themselves, and also sometimes the relationship they hold with themselves, how they see themselves. So restorative mediation is something very new. It's innovative, and JR and I take great pains that when we train mediators, we invite them to take the necessary time and effort to think about, from the perspective of the parties, what they're viewing. And that's a little bit different from what most mediation training is today.
Wow, that's excellent. Dan, I see you shaking your head. You've gone to this training as well in Ireland. Talk to me. I'll send that same question to you. Talk to me about how this has impacted your life personally, or possibly professionally. What's been different? I'll frame it that way for you. What's been different? How is Dan after the training different than Dan before the training? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. I think the difference is that there is less pressure on my shoulders. As Tony said, the training has made it's had an amazing impact on my own understanding of how to deal with conflict. Acknowledging the fact that you are there to listen, you are there to guide the process and allow people to actually be able to own the process and be able to deal with the situations that they find themselves in a responsible manner. I've been very privileged to have the opportunity to meet and befriend Tony and JR and Richard, and then of course Sheldon and the people in Barbados. It's been an amazing experience, and I couldn't just keep it for myself and to myself. And thank you, Richard, for your guidance and your encouragement and willingness to also take this to Ireland. We trained 20 people as part of this mediation training, and I have to say people are very excited about it. Conflict is everywhere. Conflict is in our lives, conflict is within ourselves, and yeah, conflict is in the church and within the community as well. So to be able to get the skills, the understanding, the depth of understanding of what it means to address conflict is probably one of the best skills that someone can get.
Definitely, definitely. So I'm going to stay here with you before I come back to Pastor Sheldon. So what are the next steps for Northern Ireland? Tell a little bit about your role there in Northern Ireland. You guys are doing some nice things there. What are the next steps as far as handling conflict? You've mentioned it's everywhere. You talked about the benefits. What are some of the next steps in Northern Ireland with this restorative mediation?
Well, Cliff, actually, the Irish mission covers both the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Okay.
So this is a great opportunity for us, considering the history, considering the mission of the church, the history of the two countries, and the mission of the church. This is a great opportunity to bring about true restoration, because we're talking about this, to bring about healing, and not just within the church, but within the community as well. So as a result of our partnership, the Center for Conflict Resolution Europe was launched recently. And through this ministry, because it is a ministry of the Irish Mission in partnership with the Center for Conflict Resolution at La Sierra, we want to bring about not just the skills, but the mentality, the attitude of peacemaking and contributing to healing within the church, and then take it to the community. Would like to go into the schools, would like to go into the university, start with the young people, and wherever we find opportunities for healing and restoration, we want to apply the skills that we've acquired as part of this training. So again, my sincere thanks on behalf of the team to everyone involved in making this possible.
Definitely, definitely. Pastor Sheldon, talk to me a little bit about the vision for you guys in Barbados and the East Caribbean Conference. What's the vision now with this? You shared a little bit on how you're using it. Any idea, any thoughts on expansion, getting more people trained? What's the overall vision on how we move forward?
Well, we at the East Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, we have a twofold vision. We want to reach out to the other English-speaking conferences in the Inter-American division to do the mediation training, and we also want to reach out to the University of the Southern Caribbean as well to train some of their staff, so that this technique really and truly would be across the Caribbean region as much as is possible, because we know that conflict is everywhere. But what is most important is giving people the skills to amicably solve the conflict that they will invariably get into. We also would like to have a Center for Conflict Resolution set up by the East Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, where people locally can come and be trained and also come and have their mediation done also. So we are looking at that two-pronged approach, training as well as offering the service of mediation from the East Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Adventists.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So Richard, I'm going to come back to you quickly, and then JR, I'm gonna get you in here. Talk to me about the heart of peace, Richard. Talk to me about the heart of peace, because that really informs a lot of the work that we're doing. And I've heard you talk directly to our group, but this is something we're all passionate about. And so for those that might be watching that don't really know where that comes from in the church, it's not something us six just made up. Just talk to us a little bit about the heart of peace.
Well, I got that term from the Arbinger Institute, where an author who is Jewish and an author who is Arabic have collaborated in peacemaking, not just in the international sense, but on the interpersonal sense of parents and children and spouses and so on. But their conclusion resonates with me as an Adventist Christian, that nothing can be solved until our heart itself is at peace. In other words, if my heart is not at peace, then it's unlikely that I will be at peace with anyone around me, and it's unlikely that I will be able to help anyone else around me find peace either. And of course, the heart of peace comes from Jesus, the Prince of Peace. And when he lives in me and I submit to him and I come to understand him as a peacemaker, and I think most of us do not understand Jesus as a peacemaker. But when we do understand Jesus as a peacemaker and he takes up residence in our heart, we have a heart of peace. And from that heart of peace now radiates out the power, the actual power to make peace, not just in my own personal inner being and in those that are close to me, but in the world around me in general. And to me, this is the gospel. This is the good news. The good news isn't that we're going to be at peace someday in heaven, but that God, the peacemaker, is actually present here now, living in me, living in you, and is ready to help you and me bring peace to the world around us. And there are skills for that. And Jesus very much wants us to know those skills and use those skills as he has provided them.
I love that. I love that, Richard. I love it every time I hear you talk about it. Thank you. And there's a couple of themes I'm hearing from the experts, that this idea of restorative mediation and reconciliation starts with me as the individual. So it's not so much solving a problem between people. There's also problems within myself that I have to restore so that I can better learn and use the tools with others. JR, Tony said this is fairly new. So for people that might be thinking, well, I thought mediation was just used in a court setting, or just when people needed to separate property, or can you talk to us about the different areas that your restorative mediation, different contexts that this is valuable and where it can be used?
Yeah, very definitely. You know, Tony and I are also great believers in restorative practice, restorative justice. And we were able to weave in a lot of the principles and understanding within restorative practice, restorative justice into mediation training, recognizing that much of mediation is transactional. And so many people go into mediation and they find some settlement. Sometimes the settlement's even forced on them. The problem is that all of the emotions, feelings, their real interests, their real needs get left out. And so they come out of the mediation, oftentimes that kind of mediation, just feeling, well, at least it's over. But they don't come out healed in any way. They don't come out restored in any way. Restorative mediation really deals with recognizing feelings, understanding that they're real. Also understanding, as we can all look and say, you know, there's a lot of conflict around us. Something that Tony likes to say, which I particularly like, is that conflict is not the problem. Conflict is the messenger.
Mm.
It's the messenger of the problem. And restorative mediation really works towards finding out what is that real problem. Not the one that you're showing me right now, not the one that you're positioning, but what is that real problem underneath? And can we address that? Can we help you address that? And can we address that with each other? And so, as Tony said, at the end of a really good restorative mediation session, you should have been able to help the parties restore whatever relationship they had to whatever extent they can restore it. But more importantly, or at least equally important, is to restore their understanding of themselves and to restore the conflict within themselves that appeared in that conflict. And so it can be very life-changing for people to go through that experience. What makes it so special with the Adventist mediators that we've trained is that they really want to take this ministry out of the churches into the community. You know, certainly they can use it within their churches. They've all done a great job of working with their congregations, but this allows them also to provide a service within the community that frankly is a very tangible answer to the 2002 peace declaration by the Adventist Church. This becomes a very practical tool to actually go out and do that. So we're not simply saying we believe in peace. No, we're going out and practicing peace. And to Richard's point, it fits so directly. And in my reading of the New Testament, I remember Jesus being called a mediator.
Mm.
And so this concept goes back a long way. And when you couple his being the mediator with his teaching us how to live with each other, how to care about each other, how to treat each other equally, then that plays directly into restorative mediation, and it is the absolute foundation for our Adventist mediators.
Yes, that is excellent. Excellent context, JR. Appreciate that. So we're going to end with this. Dan, Pastor Sheldon, I'm going to come to you with this question. We've been talking about peace, and if lasting peace involves the four ingredients of justice, forgiveness, reconciliation, and dialogue, if those are the four ingredients of lasting peace, then how does restorative mediation um, how does that impact the SDA movement and what we're trying to do with the second coming, and how does that all fit together with our job as outreach and the training that we receive? Because it seems like with this type of tool, it doesn't have to just come from a pastor in a pulpit. If I'm hearing this right, that anyone can kind of go through this training. So talk to me a little bit about how lay people or how workers or whatever context you guys want to pull from, um, how does that lasting peace, how is that achieved with this type of tool?
Well, if I may start, if I were to just look at two of the elements that you've mentioned, forgiveness and dialogue, I think that witnessing cannot take place without those two. See, very often we have to practice forgiveness, and not just within our own circle, but also to have an understanding that forgiveness brings about healing within a community as well. And I think that often we perceive forgiveness as something very personal that we receive, but forgiveness is something that's also needs to be given. And you cannot give it unless you step into the community. And again, I'm talking here about the context of Ireland and Northern Ireland. It's a very good example that can be, if you want, it can be a model or something that others can learn from. I lived in South Africa for almost 20 years, and I moved to South Africa from Romania just after apartheid fell. And again, forgiveness was a cornerstone for the process of reconciliation within that country as well. And then dialogue. Dialogue is very important. Witnessing very often within the church is more like a monologue, something that we have to communicate. How about also practicing listening, as we spoke about a bit earlier on? I think that sometimes we just need to listen, and then once we listen the way we should, we would be able to witness the way we're called to.
Thank you. Pastor Sheldon?
Yes, you also referred to justice and fairness and restorative mediation. The mechanics of it also embrace those two concepts of justice and fairness. And when we go through the training that we would have received when we're dealing with others and trying to get them to that reconciliation, trying to get them to that amicable resolution, the parties involved want to not only perceive that they're going into a process that would be justice and fair, they want to actually feel it, because feelings are important. We must not only be fair, but we must also appear to be fair. And when they enter into that mediation setting whereby we set up the atmosphere and they agree to it, that they're going to be honest, they're going to be stating their true feelings, they're going to be initially, yes, coming from their initial positions. They are doing it in a sense that there is going to be fairness, in a sense that there's going to be justice. So restorative mediation facilitates all of this.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Gentlemen, we have come to the end of our time together today. I'll give anyone just a brief last words. If you're like, he didn't ask me and I need to let the people know that. Any last words before we close out? What? I did a good job? You got something for me, Tony?
I want to thank Cliff. Richard is such a visionary. He needs credit. There are other people, VersaCare funded this, but if it wasn't for Richard Pershing, we wouldn't all be here talking about the good work we have done and that we will do. And this work is going to be identified to the worldwide church, I hope.
It is. Couldn't have said it better myself, Tony. Richard, thank you for this work and all the work that you're doing, the support of the center there, La Sierra and VersaCare. Thank you so much. I'm also excited because I know there's more training coming in these areas. I know this is not something that we're done. This is something that has been done and we will continue to do. So that's good as well. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And we will talk to you all soon, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.